On today's podcast, my special guest is my wife, and we talk about communication and how important communication is in the rearing of children, overcoming marital issues and questions. Join us. For over 40 years, I've preached the Bible as a pastor across America and around the world. I've led in the work of the local church. I've been actively engaged in the political process in both our state and nation. The purpose of the church is to stand. I've stood alongside veterans and first responders. My heartbeat is revival, and I refuse to sit on the sidelines. So buckle up and let's tackle the issues, challenges, and opportunities facing your family and mine head on. Welcome to the podcast today. It is a joy to be with you. I've had several requests, but I have not had near as many folks respond and ask for us to have a guest back like we have of my wife. And so Mrs. Fugate is back today. Welcome.
Yep, good to be here. I enjoyed last time.
Well, good.
We had fun.
I'm glad. We're going to talk about conversation today. In detail, we're going to talk about marriage and conversation. So we have to get along today in our communication.
I'll try.
All right. My wife says I have two faults. One, I don't pay attention, and I don't remember the other one. But anyway, if I just have two faults, I'm doing good. In these 38 years of marriage and almost 40 years serving as a pastor, I've spent a lot of time in marital counseling, helping folks in our church and in our state, our nation, that have come to me about marital advice and counseling. Oftentimes, marriages have issues and sometimes major problems, and I'm going to give you today an outline of what I say when folks come to me with marital issues. First of all, I'm going to say there are two foundations that folks build their marriage on. Sadly, some folks build their marriage on the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. And when you build your marriage on the lust of the eyes and the lust of the flesh and the pride of life, time changes. Time changes us. Desire, design, things change. And folks fall in love, they fall out of love, and it's just a sad thing. That's a faulty foundation. And so I tell folks it is important that you build your marriage on a right foundation. Now, it's easy to say to build your marriage on Christ. That's easy to say. But I want to get into how do you do that? How do you build your marriage on the foundation of Christ? Let me talk with her just a minute. Let's just talk about our life and how we met one another and our communication through the years. I remember when we were dating, your dad was a state trooper, and he limited our telephone conversations to 10 minutes.
Yeah, we would have 10 or 15 minutes on the phone,
Twice a week, 3 times a week.
something like that. Yeah.
And then when we were away from one another in college, we wrote letters.
We did. Good old-fashioned letters.
Yeah. You'd write a letter and you'd mail it. You'd wait 2-3 days for it to get there, and hopefully you would read it and write me a letter back that day, and I would get it back. And
Exactly. And then we were allowed a couple dates a week.
Yeah.
So where we talked.
what was our first date?
You had a group of, I guess, Sunday school or church kids on the bus route. And if they came so many weeks, you took them roller skating at Jackson, I guess. And so you asked me if I would go with you to take that group of kids. And I said, well, you'll have to ask Dad, because we had not, officially been talking. And so he did. He called Dad, and Dad said that would be fine. And that was our first date.
Yep, I remember that. I remember going roller skating. I was a pastor in Hazard. We weren't married. Let's see. I became the pastor there April 16, 1986, and we got married June.
Right, June of 87. you pastored 1 year before we got married.
Right.
So,
Right. So anyway, we learned to communicate, first of all, writing letters and then on telephone calls. I remember when our fifth child, Laura, asked if she could have a cell phone. She was how old? 9?
I don't know, young.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And she said, Mom, how old were you when you got a cell phone? And we said, that's a perfect answer. You can have one at the same age because you got your first cell phone when you were 35. So that was a
Something
good
like
time.
that. Wow.
There are 7 relationships that I teach folks about marriage that you need to build in a Christian marriage. And take these from a pastor and a book that he wrote entitled Marriage is a Commitment. Dr. Jack Howells was the pastor, a good friend of mine. He went to heaven in February 2001. The reason I remember that is our daughter Leah was born the week that he passed away, and so I remember that date. But he wrote a book that marriage is a commitment. It is not an agreement. It's not a 50-50, but I commit to you, you commit to me, and we commit in marriage. I'm going to read through these relationships that we build in marriage. Then we're going to talk about just one. We're going to talk about conversation. So the first relationship that we build is conversationalist. We talk to one another. And I often say to our young dating couples at the college that I counsel with, isn't it interesting how one English class or one class at college, 50 minutes seems like it's one half of the tribulation period in length. And then you can talk to your girlfriend and all of a sudden realize 3 hours has gone by and the time has gone by. So conversation. The second is lovers devotedly. That's to love one another from our hearts, our mind, our soul. Third of all is the physical relationship of marriage, lovers romantically. Number 4 is the relationship of being friends. Friendship is what we decide. Michelle is my best friend. Anything good happens to me, I tell her first. Anything bad happens to me, I tell her first. We are best friends. We enjoy time together. And friendship is a decision. You don't decide who your brothers or sisters are. If you did, you may choose different brothers and sisters than what you have. You don't decide who your parents or grandparents are, but you decide who your friends are. And I remember early in our marriage, I really hadn't thought about friendship, though we were friends, but I gave some thought and made a calculated effort. I decided we're going to be best friends, and I'm going to cultivate that relationship. Then there is that of coworkers. We work together a lot. We work together in music. We teach at the college. We go to the college together every Thursday. And you teach?
I teach music classes at the college and general lady classes, Christian womanhood, and piano lessons. And
What are the subjects, general subjects you teach in the Christian womanhood
in
classes?
Christian womanhood, we talk about walking with God. We talk about ladies of the Bible, what ladies do in the ministry, how they serve in different areas, and etiquette, lots of different topics.
Yeah.
So we enjoy
That's
it.
good. And I teach general church education. We teach that on Thursday, 9:30 to 10:50, and then I do chapel. She plays piano and so forth. We do chapel together. And then we always have a date. We usually go eat somewhere, and then we will shop or ride around and talk, and we spend most of Thursday together, working together, and then about 3 o'clock I come back to the church for staff meetings. So we're co-workers. There's a relationship of brother and sister, and I like this, and I'm not going to take time to talk about it today. Let me explain what I mean. A brother and sister can fight or argue with one another, but if somebody else jumps on your brother or your sister, you fight with your brother and sister. So there is a brother-sister protector relationship, and then there's that of host and hostess, that we serve one another, and that's a relationship that you work on. Today, I'm going to talk about the most important of these relationships, and that is conversation. And that's where relationships begin in conversation. When conversation is broken, it has to be restored. The marriage cannot be good.
Yeah, it's important to communicate. When you communicate, you talk, but you also listen. We grow up in different homes and different ways of communication. My family's different, than his family was. Then we get married and we need to take time to focus on how we're going to communicate and in the right ways. So I need to listen to him, try to meet his needs and what he's trying to say. It may not be what I say, but it's what I'm trying to say, and he has to listen to me, and we communicate in that way.
Conversation had to be something to learn, and just for the reason you said, because I think everybody communicates the way we did growing up in our house, and it's different than the way you grew up.
Exactly, yeah. My family was kind of quiet, and one thing that pops in my mind one time, when our kids would fall, I would say, "Get up, you'll be okay. You're okay. Get up, you're okay." And my husband would say, "Well, go to them and check on them." And that was just a small thing, but I thought, well, I need to kind of be more that way. Go check on them instead of just get up, you're okay. So, just a lot of little things like that we've learned from each other. I think about how to communicate and deal with situations.
You have to learn to communicate. And what I want to say about conversation, or the things I want to say about conversation is, when conversation is broken, you have to have a counselor. And what a counselor does is a counselor helps to facilitate communication. Oftentimes, communication is broken, and I see it when the couple comes in. They don't want to talk to one another. When they do, they get terribly frustrated or agitated. Everything they say makes the other person mad, and typically they can't say what they feel or what they want to say. The other person is angry and they can't hear what they need to hear.
Sometimes it's hard to communicate, what you're feeling, and you don't express it properly.
Right.
So it is good to have someone to to help you get I can get mad about something and say something, but it's that, I'm actually feeling something different,
Yeah.
So it is good to have some help in that way.
So it's important to learn to communicate. Now, I want to make an important statement about conversation. Conversation reveals who we are. Have you ever seen a man and said of a lady, "Well, I don't know what she sees in him because he's big, he's ugly, he's an ogre. What in the world does she see in him?" Or vice versa, what does he see in her? And that's when I go back to that foundation where when you build a marriage on the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, you build it on something that's superficial or something that's artificial. But when we communicate, that we reveal who we are. And the beauty of a person, it's obvious that my wife is beautiful as far as looking at her, but she is more beautiful when you talk to her and you find out what is on the inside. And so how we learn someone or how we know someone is by communication.
It takes time and being unselfish to learn someone else and what they need, to take care of someone and to help someone with what they need.
Yeah.
So
Giving people what they need rather than what you want them to have is a part of marriage. That's a part of our commitment. What are some of the basics that you teach young ladies about communication when they're in college, and of course they're all excited, they're dating or starting to date, and what do you teach them about communication?
well, in college, I tell them, to, go on dates and talk a lot. Don't get involved physically, but just learn each other, take time in conversation to get to know how someone handles something in a difficult situation. How do they handle problems, and get to know them in that way before you commit to someone. But in marriage, I tell young ladies to be careful. When you communicate, make sure you say things at the right time. There are times we need to talk about problems. There are times that we're upset about things and need to talk. To talk at the right time, before he gets up to preach is not the time to come and tell him I'm upset about something.
So in somebody else's life, I mean, not everybody's a preacher. So at a time of pressure,
Right.
you tell them that's not the
That's
time to
not
talk
the
about
time to bring up
problems.
a problem. But you do have to bring up problems.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just, you need to do it at the right time. And then you have to do it at the right place. For me to get mad in front of the kids or to express something is not the right, place to do it. We need to talk about things privately sometimes. And the third thing is with the right spirit. And sometimes I just need to calm me down, and then we can talk about, whatever we need to talk about, and things go a lot better. When you do have to talk about difficult things and express, difficult things, but if you can just do it with the right spirit, the right time, the right place, then we can communicate better than just getting mad and, saying something that you'll regret.
Yeah. Our times of communication, we enjoy coffee in the morning, and that time of communication, that's a general, I'm waking up, we're waking up, just
kind of just being there.
yeah, just being there. Typically, when we talk about a problem, let's say we're going to talk about, we still have a child at home. Laura's in college, in first year of college. So you would say, hey, do you have time this afternoon? I'm going to ask you a question about Laura.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then we'll, what do you think about this? I ask him, what do you think I should do about this situation? And he usually gives me wise advice, and we'll talk. But what about this? I kind of ask things in questions, instead of giving ultimatums and demands.
And
I will ask.
that's a very important thing about communication, is asking, not demanding. If you make statements in ultimatum, there's no room for a response. That's different. But if you ask a question, then you can say whatever you
What
need
do
to
we
say.
need to do, or what can I do to help this situation? I think another good thing is, which may be off the topic, but is building up, your spouse to your children, since we're talking about
Oh
children.
yes. Oh yes.
So when dad has something to say, it's important and it's valuable, and I agree.
Yeah.
But we've talked.
Yeah. And it's important that when you do talk to your children, that you are always telling your children how much you personally trust their mom, your spouse, and that you respect what they say, that they are very wise. They do know what to do. They have been through, and they can relate to you. They were 13 years old one time. They were 15. They were 17. And so they do relate. What are ways, and I think we just answered this, ways that wives can keep the line of communication open? Because one of the things that folks do, it's easier for me to deal with a marriage where they're arguing than it is where they're not talking. Because if they're arguing, they're saying how they feel, but they get to the place they just grow quiet.
I guess when you don't feel like you're being heard, you just kind of keep everything in, So it's important, even though it may be difficult, to communicate,
And to say, I need to talk to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the problems of marriage that cause these. They're the physical relationship, children, and finances are the three major, dealing with children, growing children, finances, financial pressure, and then the physical relationship of marriage, when that's not right, when you're not caring and loving one another physically. Those are the three major sources of marital problems. But when it comes to communication, things that hinder marriage, you mentioned one, and I think it's what wives say most. He doesn't pay any attention to me. He won't listen to me.
Yeah. If you feel like you're not heard, then why talk, So, and I think you need to listen, you need to And not just listen to the person, but what's behind this problem, why, say, somebody's late, for supper, and you spent all afternoon planning this wonderful supper, and your husband comes in late. And you should assume good, well, there was probably a good reason, instead of just getting mad and, assuming bad things about your spouse. But listen, don't just get mad. Listen to why. Listen to what happened. Understand that they have pressures and listen to what they're feeling and saying.
Yeah. Let me go to the other side. We're talking about communication and dealing with maybe negatives or not talking. Let me talk about the importance of having communication that is not dealing with problems, not dealing with issues, but just having communication. It's important. So there are times that we have communication that is not anything specific. For example, and these are the lists that I give folks in counseling with them. You need to eat meals together. One of the things that I am bad to do, and I've said to you, you have permission to tell me not to do these two things. One of them, hey, it's time to eat, not be on the phone. And of course, wives and husbands can speak without being verbal. My wife knows how to communicate with me when I'm aggravating her. We're sitting here having supper, and I keep answering text messages when the truth is those can wait, and I just need to put the phone away. So mealtime is a good time for communication. Don't let the television, internet, and cell phone rob the good communication that you can have. Coffee time in the morning. It's important to go to bed at the same time. A lot of folks in counseling, they'll say, well, I'm a night owl and I'm a morning person and she's a morning person. My dad taught me how to fix that years ago. If you get up 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning for a while and work all day, you can go to sleep about any time that you want to. But regardless of what you are naturally, it's important to go to bed at the same time so you can have positive communication. Devotion time, family devotion time, even though family devotion time, folks may think of me as having a church service, but I don't. I just,
No, I think we have a lot of fun. I
yes,
think one wonderful part of communication, I think he has a great sense of humor. I mean I mean, we laugh about so many things and just everything is funny. We have Andy Griffith memorized, okay? So everything's a phrase, I'm sick as a dog and having the time of my life, and the whole family just cracks up because that's a phrase
yeah,
from the Andy Griffith
yeah,
show. And so I feel like we have a lot of fun and we laugh a lot.
yes.
And that's just
It's positive
it's awesome
communication.
for the family to enjoy life. I mean, the Christian life is the best life. I've talked a lot about problems, but Christian life is the best life, and we really enjoy just being together and laughing and eating. And when the married kids, come over to the house and everybody's talking at the same time, it's just a wonderful thing. And the kids running around everywhere, like we just had the holidays. We've really enjoyed those times together,
Yeah,
and we have a lot of fun.
yeah. And then on the list of positive communication, coffee time, meal time, go to bed at the same time. And then we enjoyed taking drives. We always have. Of course, when the kids were young, it seemed like they slept better in a car seat than they did in their bed, and we drove 10,000 miles driving our kids around. But it's a communication time, whether it's seeing the leaves changing in the fall, whether it's driving back and forth to the camp where we work at summer. But that last point was to make sure that you have positive communication time so that when you deal with an issue, when you deal with a problem, that's not the only communication you've had, but it is couched in but it is couched in positive communication.
Definitely, you have nicknames for all the kids, and you just really are lighthearted at home. You just really, our home is a positive place. I know people might think you're a hard preacher, and you are, but at home is just really happy place where you have nicknames for everybody. I think that might be a mountain thing when somebody calls you something that's not your name. That means they like you, right?
Yeah.
But
I hope so, because your dad never did call me by my name.
I know our girls, they have nicknames from, I better not tell them all their
I'm
nicknames.
gonna let them tell them.
But yeah, I think we have a lot of positive, fun times together, and that helps, to draw us closer.
Let's
For
talk
sure.
about something that I counsel with a lot of people in the ministry, and we've got a lot of preachers and a lot of young men, young ladies that, grew up here and went to college here in ministry now. Spiritual warfare. It's tough.
Yeah, it's real.
It is real.
When you make a decision to grow and to do more for the Lord and to do things the right way, it makes the devil mad, and he will fight.
Spiritual warfare, when does it come to us? Typically through the years. Through the year.
Conference.
Before conferences.
Yeah. Those are the main things.
Yeah.
Before we try to help a group of teenagers, before we try to help church builders, before we try to have a ladies' meeting or something, then things get crazy.
Yeah.
Then
Let's talk about it. How do we talk through spiritual warfare? What do we do when we face it?
Well, you definitely just have to pray a little more and ask the Lord to help you. And during those times, I just don't take everything too serious. I just, pray about it and realize that things
We talk
work
about
out.
it. We talk about it. We talk about it. It's real. We're facing the devil's trying to discourage us.
Oh, yeah. And you just kind of just keep doing what you're doing, do right, and things will pass.
Yep. And they do pass. They do pass. And if we don't do damage by expressing frustrations during those spiritual warfare, if we can say, okay, it's conference time, and you get frustrated because the house gets a mess, and you say, oh no, I'm teaching ladies, and then look at my house, it's a mess, and somebody gets sick, car breaks down, kids get bad grades, they get in trouble with a friend. I mean, just all those kind of things.
I always lose my phone, before a conference.
You always lose your phone. I think you could lose an AirTag. Apple AirTag.
Don't know what that is, but I probably could.
You lost your keys the other day and found them. That was last week. That was an answer to prayer.
Yes, it was.
So during spiritual warfare, let me encourage you, first of all, talk about it. Tell your wife, tell your husband, look, I'm going through a tough time spiritually. I feel cold. I read my Bible and I get nothing out of it. Kids seem like they're disrespectful. They're not obedient. I'm going through a tough time. So first of all, talk about it. Second of all, pray together and pray extra. Pray extra. If you recognize what's going on and you know what's happening, it's easier to go through. And then third of all, keep doing what you're supposed to do. Don't say, I quit, I'm not going to choir, I'm not going to bus, I'm not going to whatever my responsibilities are. The whole family. I mean, we're going through a tough time. We're all going to be in our place. We're going to be on time. Whatever our responsibility is for that day, and we're going to push through. And sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes 2 weeks. But spiritual warfare is real. Ephesians chapter 6 tells you how to put on the whole armor of God, and you can make it through spiritual warfare. The last one I want to talk about is communication about children, how we talk through the problems. And you have different sets of problems. You have the terrible twos that last when they're 2, 3, 4, and 5. You have the problems that they face at school, the drama, the friendships. He's not my friend anymore.
Thankful that we've been a team through all that, that we've helped one another, and we've tried to teach our children to respect Dad, but to respect authority,
To respect their principal.
To
respect their teacher, their Sunday school teacher.
Teachers are not always right. They make mistakes, and actually we're not either. We make mistakes. but they need to have respect. Try to teach them respect for that authority. I don't tear a teacher down.
No.
Um,
No, we pray for the teachers in family devotions. We pray for the college teachers. We pray for the Sunday school teachers. In fact, I've got a list just about memorized that I go through all the list of the servants from our security to the folks that are recording this podcast. You hear me talk about Scott and Leslie a lot because I pray for them, and I'm thankful for them. They've got 2 adult boys are finishing high school and then college or training school, and I go through that list and pray for, and I appreciate people to our kids, and I think, it's important that they respect their coach.
yes, we've had so many good, godly people that have helped us raise our children, from nursery workers, coaches, teachers.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so blessed to have that team in our church. And
one of the challenging times, and I'll end with this here, is when kids start dating. One of the things I was surprised about, of course, we have 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls, and I was surprised that when it came time to talk about girls, they would come to you, and they would say, "Mom, what do you think about this girl?" And I thought,
yeah,
I would help the boys and you would help the
that kind of
girls.
surprised me too. The boys would come to me and ask me about girls that they were talking to. And yeah, it was a fun time. I mean, it was a good time.
Yeah. There have been some challenging times. Maybe they like somebody that we thought, we don't want this to get serious. Not that they were bad people. I just didn't think it was the best match. And each one of them, we had to work through maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months of time helping them through.
Yeah, all different people, different circumstances,
I think the first statement you made when I brought this up is we've been a team, and I think that's important. Agree or disagree, at some point we got to find an agreeable point, and those kids have to know Mom and Dad are going to agree on this.
Yeah, and we're excited for them to grow
Oh, yeah.
together.
We're excited for them to get married. We have some wonderful daughters-in-law.
Yeah. And one son-in-law.
He's yours. No, he's a good son-in-law.
He has to help pick out the guys. That's your job.
Well, it's been a joy to be with you on the podcast today, and I trust it's been a help and a blessing. If you have questions, my email address is fairly simple. It's pastorfugate@msn.com, pastorfugate@msn.com. If you would like my wife's email address, it is lmfugate@msn.com. And stands for Leah, which is her first name, Michelle, which is a name she goes by, lmfugate@msn.com. If you have questions about marriage, family, communication, we'd be glad to try to be of help to you and give you practical, scriptural advice, and maybe making it through a tough time with your children or in your marriage. But thank you so much for watching, and I trust you've enjoyed the podcast today. Thank you so much for being my special guest. You're the prettiest guest I've had.